If you ever had a Hills hoist or Victor lawnmower in your shed, chances are there was also a bottle of Roundup in there. Probably still is. We've been using the weed killer for decades, but now it's at the centre of a $1 billion health scandal.
There's going to be a lot of people die out of this. A lot of people.
Well, I would never use it again, and I'm still convinced that he got cancer from breathing in this rubbish.
It's called Roundup. The weed killer accused of killing more than just weeds. Tonight, the scandal, the lawsuits and the science.
They're telling us that according to the label it's safe to use, so we can only rely on the experts.
I just thought I was finished.
How tough has this been on you?
No, it's bad. Yeah, pretty bad. But you know, got to keep going.
For 4 generations, Ross Wild's family have made a living off the land. But this grain and sheep farmer could have never imagined his job could make him sick.
I woke up one Saturday morning and put my hand under my arm and felt a lump there.
Ross later discovered he had an aggressive blood cancer, a shock for this grandfather of 9 who'd never had any major health problems.
I had a meeting with my specialist. She said, I'll give you a 50-50 chance of getting over it. And she said, you've got it in your tonsils. She said, you've got it in your sinus, in my spleen, and then I had it in my bone marrow and in my spine. I got very depressed and cried.
But this 67-year-old soon learnt he wasn't alone.
This morning, fallout.
In total, the jury awarded Johnson nearly $290 million in damages.
In America, farmers with the same non-Hodgkin's lymphoma were coming forward and blaming glyphosate, the active component in Roundup, for their cancer.
You know, I started using this stuff when I was probably about 18 to 19 or something like that. There's no doubt in my mind that's what did it to me. It's definitely what's caused the cancer.
Scotty Ross worked as a rigger at the major manufacturer of Roundup, Monsanto, in the Melbourne suburb of West Footscray in the 1980s. Wife Jill.
One day he brought home this bag of powder stuff and he said, this is glyphosate. He said, you just add this stuff to water and you can spray it as weed killer. Because I had a huge garden. And I said, oh, okay. And I put it up the top of the cupboard. Forgot about it. And when I went back to the top of the cupboard, this stuff had eaten its way right through the top of the cupboard.
7 years ago, Scotty died from esophageal cancer. Jill is now questioning whether his illness had anything to do with his work at the plant.
He said to me, I have to leave this place and get another job because it will kill me.
The main cancers that I seem to be a common denominator is your non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other leukemias and blood disorders. But, you know, we're starting to field a lot of inquiries with esophageal, liver, bladder, lungs. So it seems to be quite extensive.
Carbone Lawyers has spearheaded the first Australian lawsuit against Bayer, Monsanto's parent company. Recently, the pharmaceutical giant was ordered to pay almost $3 billion in damages to an American couple who developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using the product for more than 30 years.
I got no doubt in my mind that Monsanto would have known there was health risks associated with their product.
On home soil, managing partner Tony Carbone has around 100 prospective plaintiffs, including Ross Wild.
Asbestos is the biggest thing we've experienced in Australia, and I think this could rival asbestos in terms of the number of claims.
Glyphosate has been classified as probably carcinogenic to humans by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. But our regulators have deemed it safe when used in accordance with the instructions.
It could cause cancer in people who are heavily exposed.
Public health professor Bruce Armstrong is calling for an independent investigation.
Could this be a potential health scandal? I think it could be.
But the scientific community is divided.
It's been around for about 40 years, and if it is a cancer producer, I think it must be a very weak one.
Honorary chemistry professor at the University of Melbourne, Ian Ray, claims the average gardener has nothing to worry about.
It's been determined by authorities all around the world acting independently that it is safe to use according to the directions.
The majority of those coming forward with cancer claims are working gardeners and farmers, like Ross Wild.
So with an open tractor like this, there's not much protection at all.
Absolutely none. No protection whatsoever, and you know, you'd just be going along and you get a bit of breeze behind you to blow it up on you.
Roundup herbicide by Monsanto. There's never been a herbicide like it before.
There's no doubt that glyphosate transformed the farming industry when it was introduced in the 70s. It was a kind of liquid gold.
The herbicide that gets to the root of the problem.
With healthy soil comes profitability. We can create a more fertile and living soil, so when we sow a crop, the crop has more opportunity to get up and away.
It's a touchy subject for those who depend on the chemical for their livelihood. Farmer and chair of Grain Growers Limited, Brett Hosking, says modern farmers protect themselves with closed cabins, gloves and masks. He believes a ban on glyphosate would have a profound impact on the agricultural industry.
There would be an economic outcome, and detriment, I suppose, initially. It would mean the system we currently use, we can't use anymore. And it would actually drag our land backwards. And I think that'd be the biggest hiccup for farmers in Australia.
Oh, there are massive vested interests there. The manufacturer wants to continue to make a very large income from the sale of glyphosate. Its use around the world is very, very extensive.
Some countries have taken action, including Vietnam, where they've banned glyphosate. It's now the subject of a Victorian government safety review, and several councils across Australia are considering a ban.
I don't want to be tied up on farming anymore where I'm spraying crops and things like that and finding later on it's got into the food chain. I feel like a murderer.
Dr Ray says it's hard to pinpoint the exact cause of these cancers.
People start to zero in on chemicals that they've used and ask, is it the chemical?
I've lost a husband, my children have lost their father. If it has all been caused by Roundup and working at Monsanto, then they should ban it, definitely.
Bayer says it has great sympathy for anyone with cancer but denies Roundup causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and firmly stands behind the safety of glyphosate-based products. The full statement, and one from the Australian Pesticides Authority, is on our homepage.